Thank you for purchasing our product. We are sure you will be glad you chose our machine, and it will bring you much enjoyment in the fantastic world of sewing. Basic operation. Connecting the power supply. Before connecting the machine to the power supply, make sure the power switch is turned off. Connect the machine plug to the machine socket. Connect the power supply plug into the wall outlet. Preparation. Make sure the power switch is turned off for the safety reason. Pull the thread guide bar up as far as it will go. Turn the thread guide bar until the stoppers snap into places. Raise the presser foot lifter. The tension discs will be opened when the presser foot lifter is raised. Firmly insert the spool holder into the spool. Place the spool on the spool pin. Thread the machine from looper thread, left needle thread, center needle thread, right needle thread, and top cover stitch thread. Draw the thread through the thread guide bar from back to front. Slide the thread into the thread guide plate on the machine. Pull the thread along the slit. Do the same for the other thread. Threading the looper. Make sure the power switch is turned off for the safety reason. Make sure the presser foot lifter is raised. Open the looper cover by sliding it to the right. Turn the handwheel toward you to align both guide holes with the eye of looper thread take-up lever. Draw the thread along the notch and pass it through the looper thread tension dial. Tug the thread gently to ensure the thread is correctly inserted between the tension discs. Draw the thread down into the looper thread guide A. Pull the thread to pass it through the looper thread guide until it locks in place while holding the thread at the thread guide plate. Pass the thread through the eye of the looper take-up lever and both guide holes. Slip the thread behind the looper thread guide B from the right. Pull the looper release knob and the looper will slant to the right for easy access. Pass the thread through the eye of the looper thread guide C. Pass the thread through the eye of the looper. Draw the thread and 10 centimeters or 4 inches to the back. Push the looper back to the original position. Close the looper cover. threading the needles. Thread from the left needle thread. Make sure the power switch is turned off for the safety reason. Match the mark on the machine with the mark on the hand wheel. Make sure the presser foot lifter is raised. Draw the thread along the notch and pass it through the tension dial. Tug the thread gently to ensure the thread is correctly inserted between the tension discs. Pass the thread through the thread guide A from the right. Draw the thread to the left and pass it through the thread guide B. Draw the thread up and slip it behind the take-up lever cover. Pull the thread down and slip it behind the thread guide C from the right. Pass the thread behind the thread guide plate from the left. Pass the thread between the first and second prongs from the left. Pass the thread through the needle bar thread guide from the right. Set the needle threader switch lever to L. Lower the presser foot lifter. Pull down the needle threader lever as far as it will go. Draw the thread along the guide on the needle threader switch lever from the left and under the hook. Raise the threader lever slowly. Pull the thread loop to take the thread end out to the rear through the needle eye. Raise the presser foot lifter. Thread the center needle and the right needle as same as the left needle. Pass the center needle thread behind the thread guide plate from the right. Pass the thread between two inner prongs. Pass the thread through the needle bar thread guide from the right. Set the needle threader switch lever to M. Pass the right needle thread behind the thread guide plate from the right. Pass the thread between the first and second prongs from the right. Pass the thread through the needle bar thread guide from the right. Set the needle threader switch lever to R. Sewing. Triple cover stitch and cover stitch. The triple cover stitch is sewn with all 3 needles and 4 threads. This stitch forms 3 parallel rows of the straight stitch on the right side. Ideal for hemming, attaching elastics, decorative stitches, etc. The cover stitch is sewn with 2 needles and 3 threads and forms 2 parallel rows of the straight stitch on the right side. This stitch forms 3 parallel rows of the straight stitch on the right side, ideal for hemming, attaching elastics, decorative stitches, etc. Sewing triple cover stitch. Turn on the power switch. Raise the presser foot lifter and insert a piece of scrap fabric under the foot. Use a piece of scrap fabric at the beginning and the end of the seam. Lower the presser foot lifter. Depress the foot control to start sewing slowly. Stop sewing at the end of the scrap fabric. Insert the work fabric after the scrap, then start sewing on the work fabric. Stop sewing at the end of the work fabric. Raise the needle to its highest position by turning the hand wheel toward you. Raise the presser foot with the presser foot lifter. Pull the needle threads before threading the needle eyes. Pull the needle threads about 10 centimeters or 4 inches forward from the bottom of the foot using the tweezers. Cut the loop of threads with the scissors. Hold the seam tightly and pull the fabric to the rear, then cut the looper thread by the thread cutter. Cut the connecting threads between the work fabric and scrap fabric. Knot the threads together. Chain stitch. This stitch is sewn with a single needle with 2 threads and forms a chain of looper thread on the wrong side of the fabric. This is a durable and flexible stitch used for seaming knit fabrics, attaching elastics, attaching bias tapes, etc. Thread one of the 3 needles and looper. Remove the needles not to be used. Turn off the power switch and disconnect it from the power supply when removing needles for the safety reason. Match the mark on the machine with the mark on the hand wheel. Raise the presser foot lifter. Remove the left needle thread. Insert the needle holder into the left needle. Loosen the needle clamp screw with a screwdriver. Remove the left needle. Partially tighten the needle clamp screw. Remove the center needle as well. So the chain stitch is same as triple cover stitch. Top cover stitch. The triple top cover stitch and top cover stitch are sewn with 3 2 needles and 5 4 threads. This stitch forms 3 or 2 parallel rows of the straight stitch on the right side with top cover stitch. There are 3 types of top cover stitch. Triple top cover stitch, top cover stitch narrow 3 mm right, and top cover stitch wide 6 mm. This stitch is ideal for hemming, attaching elastics, decorative stitches, etc. Threading the top cover stitch guides and spreader. Raise the presser foot lifter. Insert a piece of scrap fabric. Lower the presser foot lifter. Start sewing 3 to 5 cover stitch before threading top cover stitch thread. Match the mark on the machine with the mark on the hand wheel. Raise the presser foot lifter. Turn the fine mode switching lever to standard to sew the top cover stitch. Lower the top cover stitch lever and set the top cover stitch spreader. Draw the thread along the notch and pass it through the top cover thread tension dial. Tug the thread gently to ensure the thread is correctly inserted between the tension discs. Threading the top cover stitch thread. Draw the top cover stitch thread under the presser foot diagonally and draw 4 inches, 10 centimeters, of the thread. Sewing triple top cover stitch. Lower the presser foot lifter. Turn the hand wheel toward you several times and sew 3 to 5 top cover stitches on a piece of scrap fabric. Cut the loose thread. Depress the foot control to start sewing slowly. Stop sewing at the end of the scrap fabric. Insert the work fabric after the scrap, then start sewing on the work fabric. Always keep low to middle speed while sewing the top cover stitches. At the end of the seam, slowly produce approximately 5 inches, 12 centimeters, of thread chain while gently pulling the thread chain to the back. Cut the thread chain with thread cutter. Knot the threads together. Match the mark on the machine with the mark on the hand wheel. Raise the presser foot lifter. Pull the needle threads and top cover stitch thread. Pull the needle threads about 10 centimeters or 4 inches forward from the bottom of the foot using the tweezers. Cut the loop of threads with the scissors. Remove the top cover stitch thread. Pull the top cover stitch release lever toward you and put the top cover stitch spreader to a normal position. Free arm hemming. Free arm hemming is useful for tubular parts of the garments, such as sleeves, cuffs, etc. Remove the extension table. Insert tubular part into the free arm. After sewing, align the pins on the extension table with the holes in the machine. Push the extension table until it snaps into the machine. Adjustment. Adjusting the thread tension. To adjust the thread tension, turn the fine mode switching lever in the thread tension dials. Before turning the fine mode switching lever, match the mark on the machine with the mark on the hand wheel. And raise the presser foot lifter. Turn the fine mode switching lever depending on the thickness of the fabric. Turn the fine mode switching lever to fine for fine fabrics. Turn the fine mode switching lever to standard for standard to heavy fabrics. Set the dial at 4 for regular sewing. To sew on a scrap piece of fabric you intend to use. Set the dial at a lower number when the needle thread tension is too tight. Set the dial at a higher number when the needle thread tension is too loose. See the instruction book for more details. Adjusting the presser foot pressure. It is not necessary to adjust the presser foot pressure for regular sewing. When sewing lightweight fabrics, decrease the foot pressure by turning the adjusting screw in the direction of minus. When sewing heavyweight fabrics, increase the foot pressure by turning the adjusting screw in the direction of plus. After sewing, return the adjusting screw to the normal position. Align the line on the screw at the top surface of the machine. For regular sewing, the height from the surface of the machine to the top of the screw is approximately 0.4 inches, 10 millimeters. Adjusting the stitch length. To adjust the stitch length, turn the stitch length dial. The smaller the number, the shorter the stitch. The larger the number, the longer the stitch. Adjusting the differential feed ratio. The differential feed ratio can be altered by turning the differential feed dial. Set the dial at a lower number when sewing fine fabrics that tend to pucker. Set the dial at a higher number when sewing stretch fabrics such as knits, jersey and tricot. Care of your machine. Replacing the needle. Check frequently whether the needle is bent or blunt. Replace if the needle is bent or blunt. Use EL 705 number 12 or number 14 needle. Turn off the power switch and disconnect it from the power supply for the safety reason. Match the mark on the machine with the mark on the hand wheel. Insert the needle holder into the needle. Loosen the needle clamp screw with a screwdriver and remove the needle. With the flat side facing backward, insert the needle into the needle holder. Insert the needle into the needle clamp and push it up as far as it will go. Tighten the needle clamp screw firmly while supporting the holder in place. Pull the holder down to remove it. Replacing the presser foot. Turn off the power switch for safety. Match the mark on the machine with the mark on the hand wheel. Raise the presser foot lifter. Press the lever on the back of the foot holder and the presser foot will drop off. Do not push the lever from the top. Place the presser foot so that the pin on the foot lies just under the groove of the foot holder. Lower the presser foot lifter to lock the foot in place. Cleaning the feed dogs and looper area. Please clean the machine regularly. Turn off the power switch and disconnect it from the power supply for the safety reason. Raise the presser foot lifter. Open the looper cover by sliding it to the right. Remove the presser foot and needles. Remove the set screw. Raise the presser foot lifter to the extra lifted position and remove the needle plate. Clean the feed dogs with the lint brush. Pull the looper release knob. Clean the looper and surrounding area with the lint brush. Push the looper back to the original position. Raise the presser foot lifter to the extra lifted position and replace the needle plate. Turn the hand, close the looper cover and attach needles and presser foot. Here ends the basic instructions about how to use our machine. Please read the attached instruction book for more information. Please use the machine properly for long-term use with regular maintenance to prevent machine troubles. Thank you very much for purchasing our product.